Yo, before you watch the video, make sure you subscribe. Go ahead and hit that notification bell. That way you stay tapped in with every single clip coming straight to your phone. Go ahead and watch this clip. Roll the tape.
This next topic, it doesn't even have to be about the Lakers and Heat, but just in general. But it does fit, especially with what JJ Redick had to say in the post-game interview after the game.
Not sure what was lost in translation. There has to be some ownership on the court, and I'll take all the ownership in the world. This is my team, and I lead it, and I'm embarrassed, but I can't physically get us organized. I can't physically be into the basketball. I can't physically talk and call out reds and physically call out coverages, and it's. I'm not, and by the way, I'm not blaming players. That's not, I own this. I own this, but gonna need some ownership on the court as well.
Who's to blame for terrible on-court execution?
Who's to blame? Dude, if I had to get a percentage, I would say 30% coaches, 70% players. Now,
Break that down.
If you have a situation where you have a pocket man, or if you have a Doc Rivers, I had to throw my shot in there. I'm sorry, y'all boys. And you have guys that are on there, but you're doing either a bad job with the X and O's, or you're not playing to the strengths of those players. You're failing your offense. Right, that's just on the offensive side. On the defensive side, you have to know what that particular defender power is. Larry Brown knew that Allen Iverson's power was to play the lanes because he was supremely fast. So he put in Eric Snow. I'm sorry, he put in Eric Snow, who's a good on-ball defender. That way, AI could kind of roam. And Steve Kerr, I know you be slandering him sometimes, and Steve Kerr did kind of the same thing with the Steph. You had a Clay who was a good defender back in the day before his legs got riddled with injury. You have a Draymond who's a all-time defender, and for 2 championships you had KD, who was a great help side defender. Even though he was still being hunted on the defensive end, they set Steph Curry up to not be a supreme net negative for that team. Right, but at the end of the day, Steph Curry had to want to play defense. You see somebody like Luka Doncic, who has the utility pieces around him in terms of defense last season, but he didn't want to play defense. He had defensive lapses. He was not committed. All he wanted to do was play offense, and you saw it through. I believe it was 5 games that they beat them, or 6 games. You saw it through those games when he decided to play defense. They won the basketball game. The other games where he was just lax on defense, they got mollywopped. So that's just the want of the player. You know what I mean? The player also has a say, because I know we talked about this through the group chat, with trumping all of that, depending on your cash, right? So if you're an AD, forget all that he's talking about. We've seen a LeBron James and a David Blatt say, hey, we're going to run this. And LeBron says, damn that. Give me the rock in the corner. I'm going to fade on Jimmy Butler. We're going to win the game. Let's go to the crib. And you can put X's and O's for that, but that's just a generational player making a generational play. But at the same point in time, the coaches got to be ready too. The coaches can't come ill prepared. There's certain guys that are not going to be able to lock in like a LeBron, who's not going to be a film brat to know that you got to make him go left. You got to make him pull up right here because he shoots terrible from the field. So that is up to your coaches to let bro know, who probably was out drinking with a stripper last night. Yo, this is what we need to do on defense. Do this, you're going to have some success. All right, bet, cool. So I think it's a 70, it got to be the player. 70% the player, 30% is preparation and just having the ability to lead men. Not a lot of people have that. So I think it's a 70-30 split. What would you call it?
I mean, I guess it just all depends. You know what I mean? When you're dealing with basketball, or just any sport for that matter, obviously, there's usually two sides of it: offense, defense.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the middle of all that is the effort that you put into it.
Facts.
And that's for both the coach as well as the players.
True.
And so, in a sense, you should be able to galvanize the team and, get them prepared in both understanding the game plan, understanding what's supposed to happen, understanding the mindset that you're supposed to have going into the game. But at the same time, man, there's only so much that a coach can do.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, they're not the ones that is going out on the court or on the field or, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I can see that 70-30. Like, sometimes it can be flipped. Sometimes coaches just flub it up. Like, they just really just ruin the whole thing. Prime example is, Darvin Ham. I know a lot, there's a lot of Laker fans that are also trying to say, hey, well, y'all been blaming things on Darvin Ham the whole entire time. We're not gonna. Two things can be true.
Facts.
Like, Darvin Ham was trash.
Facts.
You know what I mean? And it's only so many times the players
Can
was
tell
saying
you
it.
overtly.
Yeah.
In the media.
You know what I mean? Like, even players that was there.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't have coaches going up to former players and apologizing to them in the casino because they didn't do their job with things that you would expect somebody of that high standard when it comes down to professional sports should have and do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that is a coaching thing. So I think it all depends. But I can definitely see that 70-30 for sure majority of the time.
Yeah, bro. Players got to want it at the end of the day, and the reason I give it the 30 for the coaches is because two things is what you can tell with a head coach. Of course, there's other things like lineups and situational awareness and X's and O's, but the main two things I look for, and you can apply this to every coach, is the ability to lead and the ability to prep. Right, and some of that is with the entire coaching staff. So you may be the head coach, but you may defer to this particular coach for defense. You may defer to this particular coach for offense. You may defer to this coach for guards. You know what I mean? Responsibilities are broken up, but those are the main two things you look for in the head coach. And you could go down a list. You could look at Spo. You could look at Pop. You could look at Mazzulla is one of them, who's a young coach. You could look at a Mike Malone. The ability to be accountable, to lead men, X's and O's, and being prepped, bro. You got to be prepped. You know what I mean? And they'll let you know the preparation majority of the time. We weren't ready for this tonight. XY, that's on me. Or we were unaware that this, you know what I mean? They'll tell you through press conferences if you watch coaching press conferences. But the great ones, they have those two down pat. That's why it's 30% for me.